end of the world seems designed to show that Doctor Who in 2005 can finally compete with big budget SF movies. Obviously it doesn't have the scope of the Star Wars prequels, but the aliens and space scenes are way beyond anything seen in the classic series. 20 years on, the practical aliens still look great. Some of the CGI is maybe a bit rough. But it's a strong episode for Rose and the Doctor, and a noticeable improvement on last week. We get a good look at the TARDIS interior in the first scene. It briefly featured last week, but I had other things to talk about then. It's a lot more visually interesting than the bare white set from the classic series, and it's fun to see the Doctor playing with all the different controls, which are a lot more varied than the buttons and switches from the classic era. The scene where he takes Rose further and further into the future would have been better with cutaways to show what the Earth looked like now, but I'm guessing the budget was probably far too high, and it would have been the first thing they cut. The TARDIS ends up on a space station 5 billion years in the future. It's a beautiful set with wood effect walls and marble floors. Apparently they filmed it at the Temple of Peace in Cardiff, which they used many times over the years. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out during this rewatch for when they use it again. Soon they meet all the aliens gathered to watch the Earth burning. There are many memorable designs. The face of Bo is by far the biggest, and it will return again in future seasons, so they really get their money's worth from that one. The Locks of Balhoun is also very striking. It's no surprise he was used in a lot of the publicity for the series, and it's a pity they killed him off, as he could have been a good recurring character. There's also the Forest of Cheam, walking, talking trees, and Yasmin Barrymore as Jade is definitely one of the standout guest stars. The makeup looks amazing, and she has a good flirty rapport with the Doctor, and she also calls Rose a prostitute. I'm not sure they could get away with using that word nowadays. And Zoe Wanamaker plays Cassandra for the first time. It's a unique idea for a creature, and the scene where Rose goes behind her is particularly impressive. Zoe Wanamaker plays her with a waspish glee, the epitome of self-obsession and narcissism. The story is meant to be a whodunit, but I think even on first viewing it was pretty obvious that she's the villain. It would have been a waste if she'd been just another victim, and it's no surprise that they brought her back the next year, even though they definitively killed her off in this one. Rose's reaction to all these aliens is a classic case of culture shock. She's completely overwhelmed by the situation and realises that the only person she knows is the Doctor, and she really doesn't know anything about him. It feels like a very real reaction that few subsequent companions go through. Maybe because this Doctor is so traumatised from the Time War that he can't even tell her he's from Gallifrey, as it's all too raw for him to talk about. We do get a really sweet scene where Rose talks to Ruffalo the plumber. It may have been added at the last minute, but it feels essential, giving Rose someone she can connect with in this weird world. And Becky Armory is really cheerful and upbeat, so you do feel it when she dies. The robot spiders aren't exactly scary, but they do have their own personalities in the manner of Star Wars droids, and the moment where they bang into the cameras as they go by is very effective. There are a lot of firsts in this episode. The Doctor uses psychic paper for the first time. It does get overused as the series goes on, but it allows the Doctor to be accepted everywhere he goes without being thrown into prison. So it helps the stories to rattle along without getting bogged down by captures and escapes, like so many of the classic Who episodes did. He also fixes Rose's phone so she can call her mother from any time zone. This is another recurring motif in the show going forward, and it allows them to keep on touching base with regular everyday life, no matter how futuristic the setting. The climax has the Doctor stepping through massive CGI fans in order to reach the only switch capable of saving the station. It's not explained why it's in such an inconvenient place, and it all looks like a scene from the video game. The moment when the Doctor closes his eyes and just steps through is surprisingly effective. It feels like he's using the Force or something, and it's never really explained what he's doing, and I guess it all just adds to the mystery of the character. The final scene with the Doctor and Rose back on Earth is really cathartic and helps to cement their bond. The trauma of Rose experienced in the death of her planet is relieved somewhat by her being back among the bustling crowds, and the Doctor finally opens up about the loss of his home planet. It's beautifully acted by both of them, and you feel like this is the first time since the Time War that he's been able to talk about it. I don't know if this has been retconned away in the Big Finish audios, but I hope not. The DVD has a commentary from producer Phil Collinson and Will Cohen from The Mill. Phil talks about the filming and Will about the visual effects, so between them they pretty much cover everything. It's inevitably more focused on the visuals, but it's an easy listen. There's also an 11-minute cut-down version of Doctor Who Confidential. We see Jimmy V putting on his Box of Balhoun costume, and being pulled along by a string. We see the process of Jasmine Barrowman getting her tree makeup put on. We see Christopher Eccleston filming the fan scene on a green screen set. And the CGI animators talk about putting Cassandra together. So it's not much, but it does basically cover all the major points. Overall, it's a great showcase of the visual effects, full of varied and detailed aliens, and most of the CGI is still impressive. And it all makes for an exciting, action-packed episode. 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my reviews, then please check out my Patreon, where I review 8th Doctor audios every week and 7th Doctor novels every month. Next week, The Unquiet Dead, with Simon Callow as Charles Dickens and Eve Miles as Gwen Cooper's great-grandmother. Already laying the seeds for Torchwood, even this early. I don't think this was one of my favourites, but we'll see how I feel now. So subscribe if you want to see my review of that, and I'll see you next time.